Personally, before this incident, I can never understand how people were terrified of clowns. Sure, I could see the reasons behind being just downright annoyed and uncomfortable by their presence, as their repertoire of entertainment was definitely an acquired taste for some. But past all the gags and flowers that cunningly shot water, I could never see how they were frightening, until that day. This took place about 6 or 7 years ago. I don't remember the exact year, but I knew that it was around the time of the stupid killer clown phase that was around. Most of the time, of course, it was just some cruel prankster who was looking to get a reaction from a viewer, perhaps with the sole purpose of making a quick buck off of YouTube. However, every so often, sprinkled in was a real case of a real clown with a real intent to kill. This was, of course, very infrequent, but it just happened to be my luck that my encounter was one of the dangerous ones, and I took one for the team and evened out the averages. Luckily, I escaped with my life. Still, I don't really know how, but I'm very grateful for it every day. I was walking home late at night, which I know sounds like the generic setting for a horror story, or some tale which is designed and manipulated to send shivers down the listener's spine. But it is really where the most harrowing tales occur. Anyway, I just spent a good few hours catching up with an old friend. We managed to squeeze a whole heap of topics in the short time we had together, and of course, as we were both horror fiends, we discussed the rather morbid topic of the killer clowns, and the other antics around Halloween. We'd both brushed the videos that were supposedly real as just pranks, and just a way for greed to overcome people's morals, as they got views, and I mean views. We found an abundance, and they all had flaws which we could point out to each other, in an attempt to debunk the acclaimed truth and reassure us that we were right. The night was dark, the only source of light being the street lamps which shone down onto the pavement, cutting through the inky darkness, and providing me with some sense of direction, allowing me to get my bearings. As I'm naturally a fast walker, I was walking briskly through the night, and also my speed was slightly increased, because even though those videos were clearly fake, I couldn't shrug them from my mind. They were acted out well, and there were real blades being held in their hand. I thought to myself that they wanted to make it look as real as possible, but still I was slightly nervous. Then, out of the corner of my eye, on the other side of the pavement, standing motionless under a street lamp, I saw a colourful figure. I paused and tried to take a look at him, or her, from a distance. I deduced it was a clown. It wore red, oversized shoes, a nose which was spherical and crimson, a multicoloured outfit with all these accessories and tassels that made it look like the outfit had been ripped up and snipped by scissors, and a mask. Out of all the horrifying items of clothing the clown had adorned, the mask was the most terrifying. It possessed a wicked smile, which had pure malice implanted into it, wide eyes that were bloodshot, which made me question if that was extra, or if the person behind the mask really wanted to kill me. While I was examining this degenerate, he turned and looked at me in one swift movement. We both just stood still, in some form of Mexican standoff with our eyes, but eventually, he started walking towards me, then running, then sprinting. This caught me very much off guard, and I turned around and sprinted the other way as fast as I could. Looking back, I can't fathom how that clown could have ran like he did. Not in those shoes. But in the moment, I didn't think about that. My main priority was getting out of there, alive. I ran for a while, but eventually, I could only hear the sound of one set of footsteps, which were my own. I stopped in my tracks and looked back. It was then that I saw the jerk laughing, and the mask was now off. There was two of them now, one of them dressed in normal clothes. It seemed as though one of them had recorded me, and now they were laughing, probably having their minds consumed by how much clout they were going to obtain at my expense. Although, I didn't really care, honestly. I was just happier to escape with my life that day, and a huge wave of relief washed over me when I saw it was just those kids. I laughed a little to myself as I walked back the way I was going before, trying once again to just make it home. Unfortunately though, I wish I could say that that was the end of it, but alas, there was something, or someone else. There was another clown, in the same position, and in the same clown costume as that previous fake clown. I brushed it off, thinking they were just looking for another victim, and they didn't look up at me as I walked past them. I thought I was in the clear at that point, although I started to hear another pair of footsteps, and they were getting closer. I turned around instinctively, and the clown paused. I looked down into their hand, which they left visible, and in it was a bloody butcher's knife. My eyes widened seeing this, and the assailant had picked up on my fear, with some kind of sixth sense. Now, I realised the gravity of the situation, and I bolted up that road, taking no time to look back and figure out our distance, and therefore my chances of living. By some miracle, this new clown didn't have the same technique as the previous clown, and so couldn't run nearly as fast and stumbled frequently. This meant that I was able to escape, and finally call the emergency services. They arrived quickly. I assume that they got this kind of ring and description fairly often. They scoured the entire area where the scene had unfolded, and even though they followed the blood trail, they couldn't find the clown. All they found was the murdered bodies of the two kids in a pool of blood in the back of an alleyway. They never found the clown, and the phone with the video on was smashed, so the only real evidence which could be used apart from my statement was gone. I still haven't shaken the memories of the obituary from my mind, and I don't think I ever will. What confuses me the most is that I always wonder what propels someone to kill two people like that. Maybe there was something more going on between the three people. But in all honesty, I'm not entirely sure I want to know the answer.